This bizarre Star Trek TNG Season 6 episode worked way better than it had any right to. From 1920s gangsters to space hippies, Star Trek has never been above a good gimmick, and this Star Trek, the Next Generation episode uses an absurd gimmick surprisingly well. Following the adventures of Captain Jean-Luc Picard Patrick Stewart and his crew aboard the USS Enterprise D, TNG ushered in a new era for the Star Trek franchise. Like Star Trek, the original series, TNG found unique ways to tell classic sci-fi stories that made excellent use of the show's beloved characters. After 5 20-plus episode seasons, Star Trek: The Next Generation was able to keep the hits coming impressively. TNG Season 6 gave us the iconic and brutal Chain of Command two-parter, the compelling Face of the Enemy, and the genuinely unsettling Frame of Mind. TNG Season 6 also delivered the incredibly fun Rascals, which finds Captain Picard and 3 of his crew transformed into children while Ferengi take over the Enterprise. This doesn't sound like a particularly great premise, but Rascals somehow makes it work. Star Trek: The Next Generation's Rascals worked better than it had any right to. Rascals centers on Picard, Guinan Whoopi Goldberg, Ensign Ro Laren Michelle Forbes, and Keiko O'Brien Rosalind Chow after a transporter accident turns them into children. The plotline also involves a group of Ferengi taking over the Enterprise. Captain Picard David Tristan Birkin struggles to command authority as a 12-year-old, prompting Commander William Riker Jonathan Frakes to take command. One of the episode's most iconic moments comes when Picard slips up in front of the Ferengi and refers to Riker as number 1. Picard quickly corrects himself, clarifying that Riker is his number 1 dad. Meanwhile, Chief Miles O'Brien Cole Meany isn't quite sure how to react to his wife Keiko's Caroline Junko King transformation, and their daughter, Molly Hannah Haiti, doesn't even recognize her own mother. Guinan Isis Carmen Jones embraces her temporary adolescence and encourages Ro Megan Parlin to experience a childhood she never had. All 4 child actors deliver solid performances, and the episode combines humor and heart to offer some surprising insight into its characters. Ferengi themselves are not very bright, but Rascals mostly works despite its ridiculous premise. Star Trek: The Next Generation TNG is often lauded for its cerebral storytelling, moral complexity, and strong character development. But every so often, it took wild swings, episodes that left viewers wondering, how did this possibly work? One such example is the Season 6 episode Rascals, in which Captain Picard, Ensign Ro, Guinan, and Keiko O'Brien are transformed into children. On paper, Rascals sounds like a disastrous gimmick, a strange sci-fi idea bordering on sitcom absurdity. Yet, against all odds, it works. In fact, it works far better than it has any right to. The premise, utterly ridiculous. The premise of Rascals is pure sci-fi lunacy. A transporter accident during a shuttlecraft rescue results in 4 adults materializing aboard the Enterprise as 12-year-olds, physically de-aged but retaining their adult minds and memories. The scenario sounds like something better suited for Freaky Friday or a low-budget kids show than a prestige science fiction drama. And to top it off, a ragtag group of Ferengi seizes control of the Enterprise using nothing more than surprise, timing, and a lucky takeover. A Ferengi coup and de-aged Starfleet officers running around like they're in Home Alone? It should have been a mess. And yet, somehow it wasn't. Brilliant execution of the absurd. One reason Rascals succeeds is its self-awareness. The episode never tries to sell its concept as anything other than what it is, a bizarre sci-fi anomaly. It leans into the comedy, but doesn't forget the emotional and philosophical backbone of Star Trek. The child actors are shockingly good, managing to channel the essence of the characters they portray. David Tristan Birkin's performance as young Picard is especially notable. He captures Patrick Stewart's mannerisms and gravitas with uncanny precision. The episode also gets a lot of comedic mileage from the jarring visual contrast of seeing respected officers like Captain Picard and Ensign Ro shrunk down and treated like children. Watching Riker try not to laugh when Picard squeaks "number 1" in a child's voice is classic Trek comedy. But the true genius lies in how the absurdity is never allowed to derail the characters. Their emotional integrity remains intact. Young Picard is still very much Picard, wrestling with identity and command. Ro's storyline in particular, struggling to come to terms with her lost childhood, is poignant and layered, adding unexpected emotional heft to what could have been a throwaway gag. A crisis of command, reframed. One of the most effective elements of Rascals is how it uses the transformation as a lens to explore command, ageism, and trust. The de-aged Picard is told he cannot retain command, even though mentally he is the same man. Starfleet regulations won't recognize a 12-year-old as a commanding officer. This sets up an intriguing philosophical question. If identity is defined by consciousness, then should appearance dictate authority? Picard's internal conflict is beautifully portrayed, not just through his dialogue, but through his expressions and frustrations. He resents being patronized and underestimated, and for good reason. It's a rare opportunity to see Picard, always so composed, be vulnerable in a very unique way. His sense of self is challenged in a manner no previous episode dared to try. The same applies to Ro Laren, whose resistance to reliving childhood is far more than a character quirk. It's a deep psychological moment. She never had a real childhood, and now she's being forced into one she never wanted. Guinan, ever the counselor in disguise, encourages her to embrace the second chance, leading to one of the episode's most heartwarming scenes, Ro, finger painting with abandon, finally allowing herself to play. The Ferengi factor. No analysis of Rascals would be complete without discussing the Ferengi. Their sudden capture of the Enterprise is patently ridiculous, but it fits the tone of the episode. These aren't fearsome villains, they're opportunistic clowns, the perfect comic counterpoint to the already strange situation. The fact that a group of children are able to outwit them is both hilarious and satisfying, not to mention a testament to the intellect of the Enterprise crew. Is it realistic that the Ferengi could overpower Starfleet officers and seize control of the most powerful ship in the galaxy? Not at all. But the episode isn't trying to be realistic, it's trying to be fun. And in that realm, the Ferengi work beautifully. They are bumbling and overconfident, making their eventual defeat by children not only plausible in this world, but incredibly entertaining. Not just a gimmick, character development through Sky-Fi. The most surprising strength of Rascals is its character development. The bizarre plot allows us to see familiar faces in unfamiliar contexts. We get new insights into how Picard sees himself, how Ro copes with trauma, and how Guinan always finds wisdom in absurdity. Even Miles O'Brien's relationship with his suddenly young wife is handled with a surprising amount of emotional nuance, balancing awkwardness and affection. What could have been a lazy gimmick instead becomes a platform for thoughtful storytelling. That's the magic of Star Trek at its best. It uses the impossible to comment on the deeply human. Rascals asks what makes us who we are. Is it our minds? Our experiences? Our bodies? It doesn't force an answer, but it invites the viewer to ponder. Why it shouldn't have worked, and why it did. If you describe this episode to a non-fan, Captain Picard turns into a child and fights Ferengi with other kids, you'd probably be met with laughter or disbelief. It sounds like a parody, not Prime Track. That's why Rascals is so astonishing. It triumphs despite its own premise.